Welcome back to a new video. So this one has several workouts, much like the last one, or maybe the one before that. I think I had a short one and then a long one. So I think this will probably be the style that I'll use for during the week when I am too lazy to edit or to be efficient with my time. So I have time to do that because I keep waiting to train until it's, as you see outside, pretty dark, or at least starting to get dark. And a lot of that's just because I'm tired after work and I want to sit and not move for a little bit. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because it allows me to train a little bit better, allows me to actually, have the energy to train. But in theory, I could get home about 5 o'clock and start training at probably about 5:30 and be done by 7:30, about the time that I'm, out here training a little bit after, or a little bit. I come out a little bit before that 7:30, like I said, about 7. But I like to train well. So kind of depends on the context of the day of training. If I know that like I'm really not going to do anything big, or like I'm feeling really bad for whatever particular reason, I usually actually can get out there a little bit earlier because I know like it doesn't matter how I feel or when I go out, I'm just going to be lifting really quick. But fortunately or unfortunately, I've been feeling good, so I've been wanting to wait to train. So you see here, it got up to 120. I actually threw it behind me, and this is because that thought of arching my back while I'm doing snatching, and really cleans as well, has been really allowing my pull to feel close to my body and to feel more efficient. And so I just had a ton of confidence when I came back with this. And really on that first miss that I had, it was because I didn't want to say it felt too good, but I had more on it, more energy to it than I thought I otherwise would. I thought it'd be really difficult. And as you see here, did a double. And then here's a crazy overhead squat that I threw in there. I'm not really sure why. I've just randomly started adding them back in again. I guess just because they're easy to do after snatching, and it's a good thing in general for me to do more of, because I just really don't like doing overhead squats out of the rack or snatch balances really in general. But I think doing overhead squats after snatching is a good way to kind of sneak in some extra overhead work. Did some push presses after this. Didn't go great, so did some overhead presses after, but really happy to do that 120 for 2. My best double from the high blocks is 125, so I'm really close to that percentage. And if you had to ask me what the best 2 plus 1, 2 snatches plus overhead squat from the high blocks, I have no idea. It's probably 120, but it could be more. My best overhead squat that I've ever done, so not like an actual snatch balance, which a lot of them kind of look like overhead squats just because of how slow. It's not like a dynamic eccentric on the movement, but a true like overhead squat, my best ever is 135 or set. No, it's 135. But I did that after doing a high block snatch with that weight. So doing overhead squats after a snatch are just so much easier. I don't know why I didn't edit this down, but you see me set up for my overhead press. I actually did 10 reps here, which I was really surprised with. And I did them pretty controlled. So I believe I've done 10 reps before with 70. So it's not like a PR or anything crazy like that. But I did them more controlled, I guess, than I have in the past. So I thought I would start to just run out of energy around 5 or 6. But I just kept pumping them out and had to lean back a little bit more. But it's one of those things that has allowed my overhead press to increase. Just kind of, I don't want to say cheating the reps, but just allowing myself to lean back a little bit more. I used to be overly strict with trying to keep a really vertical torso for every single rep, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to do that, but it kind of limited how much I was able to push through difficult reps. And for most reps, you should want to stay, mostly vertical when you are pressing, but when you get to a difficult one, it's kind of like the equivalent of your back rounding on a deadlift. Like, you don't want your back rounding on all your deadlifts, but if it's a difference between you hitting a PR or not and your back rounds a little bit, it just kind of tells you that's where the limit is for that day. Now, when I went live for snatch push presses later this week, I mentioned how I haven't done snatch push presses in a while, and I actually forgot that I did them on this day. Granted, it was only with this 50 kilos here and with 70, but that's probably one of the reasons why the 125 that I did later in the week for a triple was possible, or at least it didn't feel like it felt good to do. It wasn't like crazy difficult in a sense, because I had practiced the movement a little bit. And I think that's just kind of an important thing to think about in training, is when you are trying to introduce another movement in, or it's a movement you haven't done for a while, a lot of the tolerance or a lot of the gains that you're going to get initially is just building the skill of doing that movement again. So it's not even so much that you don't have the strength or the just wherewithal to do a heavier weight, but it's more so the actual neurological tolerance or the skill of doing the actual movement. Snatch balances are a good example of that as well. When I don't do them for a while, then come back, like it's not like I always can get back to 135 or 140. A lot of that is the strength and the ability to do the movement itself, but also just the skill of doing the movement. And so the more you practice movement, the better you get at it, of course. But for a lot of weightlifting movements, there's a lot of skill that goes into it for that initial gain of the weight that you're able to push in a movement that's not related to your actual strength. And so that's one of the tricky things with weightlifting, because it takes a while to get enough skill to get to the point where you're limited by strength. There, I tried to do an overhead squat after the snatch balance. It was not a smart idea, and as you saw, I did not make it, but it is what it is. I wasn't too disappointed with that. I was really happy to get that 125 snatch balance. Back squats went really well. I was really surprised with how well they went today. They've been going really well, and I think a big reason they've been going well is just generally I'm doing them. I don't know. I'm just generally doing them well, but I think it's honestly lunges that are helping me, which is weird to say because I'm not really loading them at all right now. I'm just doing them with body weight and have done them with a barbell now a couple times. But honestly, with the amount of soreness I'm getting in my glutes and even my quads a little bit, not really a ton. The quads get a little bit of a pump while I'm doing it, but then my glutes get sore. I think it's honestly helping my squat. Like that's the only thing I can really think about because I'm not doing tons and tons of reps or like doing 5x5s and getting tons of leg volume in. So I definitely want to keep the lunges in because it's something that I can do at the house, I can do at the gym. There's not a limit with that. When I'm doing things like the hack squats or other movements that require a machine, I'm only going to do it at the gym, and I'm not going to the gym that much right now just because it's still warm out and it's just convenient to be at the house. But speaking of that, this was a workout from Wednesday, which I weirdly been going to the gym every Wednesday, and I have no idea why, but it's funny because on the check-in thing on the app for the gym, to allow you to, for the door or whatever, it shows you what days you've actually showed up or whatever, and it's been every Wednesday for this whole month, and I don't honestly know why. It just kind of works out that, I do the blocks on Monday, then by Wednesday I'm kind of wanting to do more stuff in the floor, but wasn't feeling particularly good on this day. Definitely was tired, but I believe I wanted to go on this day. I think this was, Justin and his wife, they needed a pupper food, so they had a food delivery for their dogs that went to their old address, my address, and so I brought it to the gym, and it gave me an excuse to go to the gym anyway to do a session. And there's Rick there giving me some coaching before he leaves, and there's 90. Mostly just tells me to man up, which is mostly what I need for my my training. I actually misses 100 behind, and that's similar to the 120 the other day where I did it better than I thought I was. So I just went up to 105, and as you see there, just did a really easy rep. So I was really happy with that. Just basically did the same thing I did with 100, and because it had more weight, it just went to the right spot. But then caught 110 here, pretty decent, a little forward. You see a little wobble in the arm, but then did 3 overhead squats after, and just kind of continuing the theme of just doing lots of overhead squats whenever I do a snatch if I feel like it. So there's no rhyme or reason or like programming aspect that I have with that. It's just like, oh, I'll just do a couple overhead squats after, and it's like I did 1 before, see if I could do 2, and I did 2, and I was like, oh, let's see if I can do 3. Then started to warm up for some overhead pressing. I actually changed my mind a couple times. I was just going to do overhead press. Justin was actually training at this time, and so wasn't sure if I was just going to overhead press or do push press. I didn't have a ton of energy, didn't really have a lot of desire to do push pressing or anything, but went up to 90. I went from 40 to 90, which is the first time I've made this jump for just pressing. I was actually able to press it, which I was pleasantly surprised with. I really thought I would just get stuck with it and have to push press it, but was, like I said, pleasantly surprised with that. Went up to 110 for a push press. Was pretty decent. The cleans have been looking pretty good as far as the energy that I have catching them. I don't know, they just look more powerful than they have before, or at least have lately. And here's 120. In this 120 power clean, it's like there. It's like, I don't know, it just looks better than before, and I don't really know how to describe it. Maybe it's the block power cleans that have been helping it a little bit. But yeah, I just didn't have the energy on the push press, which, it is what it is. I was committed on this day to actually doing a little bit of squat volume. I didn't do a lot, just one set of 5 at 160. but I just wanted to do some repetitions of some sort. And kind of like what I talked about before, when there's a skill component of, say, doing a set of 5 in the squat, you don't necessarily want to not do any sets of 5 for a while and then do 5 sets of 5 at a heavy weight. You kind of want to build into doing sets of 5. So even if it's heavier like this, when I'm doing a set of 5 here, it gives me the practice of the dynamic nature of doing multiple repetitions. So the next time maybe I could do another set or maybe do more weight or whatever with that. But there is a skill component to doing a set of 5 that you kind of have to build. You can't just go from only doing singles to doing really good heavy sets of 5. Here are my beautiful lunges, and a lot of the first couple reps of each set that I do are just getting into the rhythm with it. And from a logical standpoint, I understand it'd probably be better to alternate the steps that I'm doing, but because I hate the movement so much, I just want to get one side done at a time and not just hate my life as much as I could when I'm doing alternating sides. It also makes it feels like the sets go faster, even if I'm doing this literal same amount of reps. My left side always feels really good, which is just weird because it's the tight quad tendon, but my right knee just absolutely hates any sort of single leg stuff. But it is getting better. I mean, as you can see, adding 20 kilos essentially to it with the barbell. And I honestly thought about adding a little bit of actual weight on the bar this time, but I'm just really just trying to get into a good rhythm and a good technique for the most part. And I don't necessarily care in my brain that it targets my glutes more or my quads or whatever. It's just like a really good accessory for me because it's just something different. I also feel it in my hips too. So I feel it like glutes and hips, which is good. It's just a different stimulus than I have. And eventually I'll be able to add weights. And really the only thing I'm thinking about for as I get warmed up doing them is I'm just trying to step out far, trying to make sure that my torso doesn't lean forward too much, which it always will just from the way I'm built. But just trying to keep my foot balanced on both, and not necessarily a 50-50, but just trying to make sure I'm not leaned all my weight forward, because that does take obviously pressure off the back leg, and I want to keep some pressure on it because I want to build some muscle there. But I believe on this day I did a set of 10 with each leg on the first set and then 2 sets of 5. I wasn't really counting that first one, but when I used the bar before, I believe I only did 3 sets of 5 with each leg. And so ideally, I'd be able to either increase the reps the next time I do it, which might honestly be on the Saturday when I'm making this commentary, but not really sure, either Saturday or Sunday. Trying to do it, I guess, kind of twice a week. That's what it ended up being this time before. It's one of those movements. It's like my compromise. Every time I'm like, I don't want to do 5x5 squats or 3x5 or just repetitions in the squat. Like, I can force myself to do lunges, and it's been working pretty well, which is why I think my squats have been feeling pretty good, particularly the back squats, I should say. I have not done, or I did a front squat at some point earlier in the week, but I've been feeling good on back squats, so I've just been kind of hammering those more. Kind of need to make sure I still do both, but honestly, back squats have been feeling so good, it makes me want to try something above 230. I would love to try to go for a PR, because my best ever, while I'm warming up for push presses here, let me hit the old Google machine, because it's 520 in pounds, and I always forget what it is in kilos. 236 in kilos about, because I did it in pounds, so I mean it was 520 pounds, 236. So if I could do like 240, that would be really cool, but I have to make 230 feel really, I have to be really confident with it, but also might just start chipping away. Even if I matched my PR, that would be really good, because I've only ever done it once, and so if I'm consistently doing 235 or whatever, then I'd be really happy with that as well, because that would be progress in a massive way as well, and just kind of like a good thing for my legs, obviously in general, to be getting stronger and just systematically stronger as well. Because back squats for me, just kind of, I can use my whole body a lot more than front squats. Front squats are limited by my leverages a lot more than I would like versus a back squat. After doing those snatch push presses, I tried to do some rack jerks. They didn't go too great. I went from 60 to 110. 110 felt really good, but then when I did 140, I just didn't have any energy on this one. I knew this session I wanted to be lighter, and this was my session from Thursday. I actually didn't even train on Friday. I kept waiting. I was like, I just need to not train today, and I haven't taken a day off in a little while, so ended up being, I think, a good decision, because I feel pretty good on this Saturday when I'm recording this. But after doing that rack jerk, did some clean pulls, as you're seeing, and I think they were triples. No, that was just a single, because I went up to 230, did that for a single, and then I did a triple at 265. For me, when I have shoes on, I consider them clean deadlifts, but also I was also trying to keep my hips lower, trying to arch my back, kind of like what I talked about doing for the snatching. And obviously you can see there, it's basically a deadlift. And when I posted the short, like I called it a deadlift. So it's not, I'm not delusional in that sense, but I am trying to really fight to maintain that position. And that's why it generally moves a bit slower than, 585 would move normally if I was just trying to, have my shoes off and deadlift. That's really the biggest difference is when my shoes are off, I just get a better leverage with my posterior chain, so I'm able to just yeet it off the ground. But 585 is a pretty heavy deadlift for me in general, so it's not as if it's going to be flying off the ground. But really happy with training so far. Hopefully Saturday goes well. The plan is to do some more waves and stuff, and maybe a back squat, maybe a front squat of some sort, and some pulls and lunges. Probably be a really long and relatively difficult session just because it is Saturday, and those are generally the best days for me to train. Because you're able to sleep in and relax, but do need to get some grad school work done before I go out to do that, which that has been going well besides, ironically, all of the video issues I've been having. I uploaded a video that I didn't share properly, which I thought it would share with the professor by default, so I had to fix that on 1 week. And this past week, I somehow managed to upload a video where I recorded it using OBS, and it had sound when I'm listening to it back, and then I upload it to Microsoft, the system that we use, and it just didn't have sound. And I uploaded a second time and it didn't have sound again. And so I had to render the video with Sony Vegas to get it there, which is honestly just hilarious because of the fact that I upload so many videos to YouTube and don't generally have editing issues. But with that, apparently I can't do it with Microsoft. So I'll blame Microsoft and not myself. I will not take any ownership of that. But anywho, I appreciate you guys if you stop by at any point, or if you stop by at any point of any of my videos, because I do appreciate the support. I do plan on trying to do lives just occasionally. There's not really a rhyme or reason to them other than I enjoy doing them, and they seem to get some pretty good engagement, but also there's not like a strict schedule with those. Probably at chess at least once a week. I do enjoy playing chess, and my rating has been going up a lot, which has been nice. But I don't know. I've just been really enjoying YouTube lately and lifting and life in general lately. So it's just, it's been nice. It's been a nice, I don't want to say it's been a nice life. It makes it seem kind of morbid, but like everything's been going really well lately. And there's just like things I could always improve at, like sleeping more and making sure I eat enough and all that stuff. But I think everything is trending in the right direction as far as lifting and work and everything like that. But anywho, that's it for this one. I'll talk to you all in the next video, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.